Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a real transformation story. We're going to reclaim your absolutely most valuable asset, your attention. If your brain constantly feels like a web browser with, 50 tabs open, and your ability to just sit down and think has completely vanished, well, you are definitely not alone. So let's learn how to rewire our minds.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever worked a full 8-hour day and felt like you accomplished absolutely nothing? It's the worst feeling, right? You sit at your desk, your fingers are flying, you're responding to 100 messages, your eyes are just darting from tab to tab, and by 5 p.m., you are completely exhausted. But the actual project? It hasn't moved forward an inch. You've basically fallen into the distraction trap. Confusing being busy with actually getting things done. But hey, don't worry, there is a way out of this. To escape that trap, we're looking at some totally game-changing concepts from Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. Now, we aren't going to get bogged down in complicated psychology today. We're keeping it super simple. We're translating Newport's research into a dynamic, easy-to-use blueprint so that literally anyone, not just tech geniuses or, monks on a mountain, can train their brains to focus intensely and completely transform their careers.
Section 1. A Tale of Transformation. The Story of Jason Ben. To prove that this intense concentration is a superpower that anyone can learn, let's look at Jason Ben. Before his transformation, Jason was a financial consultant, earning about $40,000 a year. Basically, he was a human spreadsheet. He spent hours just manually copying and pasting data. It was so mind-numbing that he actually spent 98% of his time just surfing the web. Crazy, right? But he realized he needed a highly valuable skill to actually survive in today's economy. So, he just quit. And get this, just months later, he was earning over $100,000 as a top-tier computer programmer in Silicon Valley. So how on earth did a totally distracted guy who knew absolutely nothing about coding make that massive leap?
Well, his magic weapon was uninterrupted focus. Jason didn't have some genius-level background. What he did was kind of drastic but incredibly simple. He literally locked himself in a room with nothing but textbooks and a highlighter. Zero internet. At first, his brain absolutely screamed for distraction, but he forced himself to just sit there, basically training his mind like a muscle. Eventually, he worked his way up to clocking 5 hours a day of pure, intense study. He mastered a famously grueling coding bootcamp and completely rewrote his entire career.
Section 2. Deep versus shallow work. Naming the enemy.
Okay, so to replicate Jason's success, we have to know exactly what our enemy is. First up, we have shallow work. Think of this as the exhausting, frantic energy of constantly checking emails, updating random spreadsheets, and just endless scrolling. It's the kind of stuff you can do while you're semi-distracted. And look, sure, we all have to reply to emails. We aren't monsters, right? But the real problem is that it doesn't create any new value in the world. And worst of all, spending all day splashing around in the shallows permanently reduces your actual capacity to think deeply.
On the flip side, we have the real hero of our explainer, deep work. This is distraction-free concentration that pushes your brain to its absolute biological limit. Imagine it like a super heavy weightlifting session, but, for your mind. It's quiet, it's powerful, and it is intense. Deep work is what you're doing when you're writing a brilliant report, learning a complex new coding language, or solving a major business problem. In a world totally full of distracted people just doing shallow work, the person who can actually go deep is the one who wins.
Section 3. Steps for Deep Focus. Your practical blueprint. So how do we actually do this? Well, relying on sheer willpower to focus is honestly a losing game. Willpower is just like a battery that drains really quickly, so we need strict rituals to eliminate the friction. Here is your dynamic, super simple instruction manual for organizing your very first deep focus block. Step 1. Decide exactly where you're going to work and for how long. Maybe it's a quiet conference room for 90 minutes. Step 2. Define your rules. Absolutely zero internet, and your phone literally goes in another room. Out of sight, out of mind. Step 3. Gather your support. Have your coffee ready, grab a snack, and clear your desk of all the clutter before you even sit down.
You are essentially crafting your very own mental retreat here. Throughout history, great minds didn't just sit around waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration to strike. No, they built fortresses for their focus. The famous psychiatrist Carl Jung literally built a stone tower out in the woods with no electricity just so he could think without being interrupted. Now, okay, you don't need to build a stone tower, but you do need to treat your deep work block as a sacred space. When you sit down with your coffee, your clear desk, and your strict rules, you are signaling to your brain,
All right, it is time to perform. Section 4. Training your brain. Building mental muscle.
Now, focus isn't just a switch you can suddenly flip. It's a mental muscle you have to actively train. If you've been super distracted for years, you can't just miraculously decide to focus for 3 hours straight. So here are 4 dynamic, easy exercises you can start right now to build that muscle. First, schedule internet blocks. Know exactly when you're allowed to be online and stay completely offline outside of those windows. Second, embrace boredom. Waiting in line at the grocery store, don't pull out your phone. Just stand there and actually be bored. You are basically teaching your brain to tolerate a lack of constant stimulation. Third, try Roosevelt dashes. Give yourself an artificially tight deadline to finish a deep task, forcing your brain to operate at maximum intensity. And finally, shut down completely in the evening. Your brain absolutely needs rest to rebuild its focus muscle for the next day.
And hey, here is a pretty mind-blowing fact. Even the most elite experts in the world, we're talking master musicians, top-tier programmers, brilliant writers, they actually max out at about 4 hours of deep, intense focus a day. That is the biological limit of the human brain for this kind of heavy cognitive lifting. So what does this mean for you? It means true productivity does not require burning the midnight oil or working totally insane 12-hour days. If you can just string together 2 to 4 hours of truly deep, uninterrupted work a day, you will completely outproduce everyone around you who's stuck in that shallow distraction trap.
Section 5. The deep life. A life of meaning.
Sure, deep work can absolutely boost your income and make you immensely more productive. But the ultimate payoff? It's so much bigger than that. As the science writer Winifred Gallagher puts it, I'll live the focused life because it's the best kind there is. When you finally reclaim your attention from the frantic, draining tasks that usually eat up our days, something genuinely magical happens. The anxiety fades away, your work transforms from a really stressful obligation into something wondrous and profoundly meaningful. You finally feel totally in control.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. What incredible thing will you build with your newfound focus? You now know the enemy is shallow distraction. You know the superpower is deep, uninterrupted concentration. And you have the exact, practical blueprint to set up your very first deep work block today. Start small, build up that mental muscle, and just watch as your entire world transforms. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and honestly, I cannot wait to see what you create when you finally go deep.